Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to talk about variables and choices in Visual Novel Maker. You probably want to implement choices in your game to make your game more interactive so that the player can choose their own routes and gain points and stuff like that. In the last video, we talked about the drag and drop commands to make a scene. If you're still a complete beginner, I would recommend checking out my other two videos. We'll talk about the variable systems in VN Maker this episode. Let's get to it. I've already prepared a scene for this video, which I will show you now, and then we can jump right into the mechanics so you can learn the mechanics right away. The scene is called "What Will Become of My Decision?" Let's play it. I arrive at the library after class. I should grab some books to study before I go home. I'll need to be prepared to learn about visual novels. A heavily encumbered girl drops the stack of books she is carrying. And that is as far as I got with the scene so far. So now we will go into the choices. We will have two choices in this scene. Under messages, we'll go to add choice, and we will do that twice. The first choice will be to help her pick them up. Help pick up the books. And the next choice will be ignore her. And we will see how that plays out. Then after you put those in, you want to do show choices. And right there, they're up here at the top, so we want to move them to bring them down a little bit. We're going to do position direct. And it'll bring up this window. A helpful commenter last video actually helped me fix the issue that I had with the windows not showing the buttons at the bottom. Apparently you do this by going to Tools, Preferences, Application, and then uncheck Use Original Size in Preview. And that'll make your window a lot smaller, so if it's cutting it off, you'll be able to see everything on the window. And that was very helpful. Thank you, sir. So anyway, we'll move this choice down to the center. Height, we're just gonna move it here. When we go choices, oh, it's a little too small, so I could drag it, or I could adjust the variables in it. We're gonna make it this size. And then for the second one, we're gonna do the variables on this one so that the width matches up. The width is 528, and I'm getting it from over here, from the where the other choice is, so that they look like they're directly on top and bottom of each other. And apparently the height is 50, so we're gonna... Oh wow, why does that look small? Oh, I changed it to... Oh, they changed? I'm gonna go back in here and see what they're actually set to. 270. The width is 1056 and the Y is 270. The Y is this way. So you want it to be lower, but the X should stay the same. 390. 1056. This is 1056. Okay, and now they're perfectly the same size as each other, though I do want to move this one up a little bit. So we'll change this to 380. And now we have two choices, help pick up the books or ignore her. Then it's always useful to put in this idle command, just so there's like a rest in between after the choices and before the labels. Then we put in a label. And for help pick up her books, we're going to have her thank James for that. So obviously it's going to be different than if we were going to ignore her. So for the label, we're going to jump to thanks. And then we're going to call this label thanks, so that when you choose the choice, it jumps there. A hide message box and a show message box right after idle, just so the message box refreshes, so that when the new dialogue comes in, it won't get stuck. Because sometimes after choices, I've run into issues where sometimes it gets stuck. So that's just to prevent it, to have it refresh. And I'm going to show message. First I'll have James say something. So I'm going to have him join the scene so he can say something. Okay, I'm going to say James, and he will say, be careful with those from now on. Okay? All cool, like. And then Lucy will say, thanks, I will. And then we'll have a jump to label command, and we'll enter in that label after we're done with the choice branches, and we'll add the label for the other choice. The other choice label we'll call ignore, so you can see it. It says ignore up there. And then we'll call this label ignore. And we will actually create a new scene for this second choice, so it won't be in the same scene. Do chapter new scene, and we'll call it walking by Lucy. Because if we ignore her, we'll walk by her and go somewhere else in the library. And we don't actually need this jump to label command. We can just finish the scene before we have this label here. So we're going to add a new character, and if you don't know how to add characters and their expressions yet, check out my last video, tutorial number 2, where I explain adding the characters and assets and stuff like that. So we're going to have Owen, Lucy, let's go. And then both of them exit the scene. But I don't want her smiling the whole time. And her expression will be normal. There was something about that guy. He seems different than everyone else, and I'm not sure why. If we ignore Lucy, she'll jump to the next scene, and we will select it here, called Walking by Lucy. And just ignore the fact that James isn't wearing a uniform, okay? I didn't draw him with one. Hey cutie, guess who? And then James will turn around. He'll just look at her straight face and be like, oh, it's you. Be like, I've only known this girl for a few days. She's from math class. So they're kind of acquaintances, but they don't know each other so well yet. And she will say something else. James will agree. I don't know, his smile is a little too intense. I feel like we should just keep him as... It seems like everything he says is sarcastic with his expression. Maybe I should give him a better expression in due time. So now, if we want to get into variables, we can add variables for Lucy. She likes you after you help her pick up the books, and obviously not when you ignore her. And I would usually like to do this with common events. We'll create a new record called add LP, and that'll stand for Lucy points. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll find these commands here so that you can create a common event. And basically common events are things that would happen if you place the common event here. And you can have as many commands in there as you want, and if you just, it makes it easier so you don't have to put all those commands all over again. So we're going to start with number variable. And we are going to select variable, and we are going to create a new one just in our regular variables area. And we're going to call it Lucy points, and in parentheses put LP. And we're going to add a value, and we're going to add 2 is a good number. We can add 2 whenever we do something that she likes. If you want, you can add a graphic that'll say plus Lucy points, like whenever they make a good choice. To do that, we can add a text command under the T for text. We're going to do a show text. We're going to do a top right, and it'll fade in like 100. We can wait for that. And then move text along path. S is for start, E is for end. I'm gonna press OK, and then wait. We'll remove the text, erase text, 600, I guess, and we'll wait for that. So you can enter the text here, what you want it to say, just to make it plus Lucy points. Text settings, so we'll add the text settings before that so that we can choose the font if we wanted to, and what color it is. We will have it be green. Green is a good color. Do call common event, add LP, and we'll see how that looks. saw it a little bit, but it looked black. Okay, so I fixed it by changing all the default numbers to 1. And we want it to last a little bit longer, so we'll do 2000. We will start it a little bit lower down because we want it to last longer. So let's play it now and see how it looks. And you want to look in this corner right after James says be careful with those. Oh, I spelled with wrong. I'll fix that in a second. And you saw that? It was very brief and fast, so we might want to calculate where the text comes in. Because I know that when I did text before, it was those numbers, I'm pretty sure. So I'm just going to see how it comes out. Careful with those. There we go. Now we see. So whenever we want to add points for her, all of these will be in a common event, so you do not have to put down all of these commands all over again. It just makes it a lot easier. Well, let's see what happens when we make the other choice, shall we? She drops the stack of books she's carrying, and let's ignore her this time. I sift through the DIY section of the library, hoping to find something useful to study. Hey cutie, guess who? Oh, it's you. I've only known this girl for a few days. She's from math class. Is that a book on visual novels? We should study together sometime. Sounds fun. He's so unenthusiastic. But anyway, the scene ends there. And we will continue this scene later. But anyway, if you want to add variables for her as well, we can do a new record. Call this add WP. And then let's just select all of these, holding control down, copy, and then paste them all here. But instead of this, we'll add a new variable, call it Willow Points. So everything will look exactly the same, or you can change the color if you want. We can make the willow ones, sure, this nice yellow color. So everything will be the same except it will be for Willow, and I also got to change it to say Willow Points down here. Willow Points. Sounds fun. And then we'll have the call common event, add WP, and then we'll see how that goes. We should study together. Sounds fun. And then we see the Willow Points go up there. I will hold you to that. Hope you're not doing anything tomorrow. Change scene at the end, and it'll go into the next scene. And in this scene, we will implement those variables and have them lead somewhere for the story. So we'll not have him expecting her, because if you chose to pick up the books for Lucy, then he wouldn't have ran into Willow. So we'll just keep it generic. So we'll do check number, and we'll select Willow points. And if it's equal to 2, we can also do greater than or less than, but since there was only one choice so far where he would get 2 or not, we'll just leave it as equal to 2, and then we'll jump to the label Willow shows, and we'll have another jump to label in case it's not 2, and we'll be like no show, because they never talked at the library yesterday. But then we'll have an idol, and then we'll have a label called Willow shows, and then we will have her enter the scene. Waiting for me. It's like that. Wow, look at you waiting for me. It'll branch into a different branch where we go study with Willow and we become friends with Willow. So if she doesn't show, he'll just stand there for like a few minutes, and then someone else will come up. Approaches. And someone joins. Well, maybe he's a little too much taller than James. Okay, that looks about right. I think he'll mention something about Lucy. She likes me. James will actually see it as a challenge. James will be like, I'll talk to her if I want to. You can't tell me how to live my life. And then James will exit the scene. Whatever. Let's make sure it connects first. Yeah, we'll change it to tomorrow after school. This is the change scene, so we'll go to tomorrow after school. Hide message box. There we go. Let me know how it worked out in the comments below for you and what you're planning to do with your variables in your game. And if there are any other features you want me to cover specifically, let me know. The next video will probably be about creating custom menus and dialog boxes. It will be a very useful video, especially if you want to make your game fully customized in every possible way. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. I swear I gave this to you months ago, and now I'm trying to forget. But between the drinks and the subtle things, the soul holes in my apologies, you know, I'm trying hard to take it back. So if by the time the bar closes and we feel like falling down, I'll carry you home tonight.